I flipped to page 92 and page 93, if anyone likes numerology like I do. And these poems that I have here are titled Earth Issues and It Is What It Is. And it just so happened to fit perfectly as you were discussing, well, in a sense, politics and discussing what you're seeing on the news and what's going on. So I'm going to share these two with you, and I hope you enjoy them. The world is dark. I don't know where to turn, where to start. Oil is polluting our water, and I still fill my gas tank. CO2 is polluting our air, and I still fill my gas tank. Pavement is angering Mother Earth, and I still fill my gas tank. What can I do? Where can I go? How can I show I know my actions are collectively bringing negativity? What could I do to change me? Electric car, flying car. Laziness leads me away when I desire to act from my heart. I wrote these words. Suppose that's a start. It is what it is. Put your issues in the tissues and burn them. Set a fire for those desires, smoke dissipating into parallel universes where soulmates await to grant wishes. Your heart is the start, what sets you apart from rags to riches. Do what you have to do to make your dreams come true. The earth is recalibrating. As fear transmutes into love, give someone a hug. Forget about the pollution. They say out of sight, out of mind. We say, focus on positives, trust with all confidence. The universe is shifting. Ohana, no one shall be left behind. And that is the end of those two that I wrote years and years and years ago, and I still feel them so much. I'm really happy that those are the ones that came to me first for this, especially with what was being talked about. Oh man. And speaking of parallel universes, just a little side note. I had an astral projection of a sense this morning while I was snoozing, which is my favorite thing to do. And I happened to be living in one of my parallel lives where my name was Brianna and my life was almost similar, but there was slight differences in the world and also in the people around me. And when I was living, usually when I'm in a dream or in an astral projection in a parallel universe, well, I can feel my core and I can feel the difference between me laying in bed versus what is playing within my eye. But this morning, I couldn't tell the difference. I felt as though I was living in my life. And as somebody was driving me to work and I'm in the passenger seat of the car, I knew that sleep was coming. I was told that sleep was upon me, and sleep hit me and it went to black. And really quickly, I came back into this life and opened my eyes and had to look around and realize, oh boy, this is also my life. And this life is quite different, yet very similar to that parallel universe that I just happened to live in for that 30 minutes of snooze time this morning, which was actually days. And that dream, days, I was living. That's why I was convinced it was life. So, I mean, with that being said, I also like to throw that out there with the fact that there's so much going on beyond what we're seeing. So much going on beyond what we're seeing. And I think that the most important thing that we can do, which I deal with daily or have to remember daily, is it's all about what we're sending out. And as long as we are just breathing and radiating that love and that positivity, the support and sharing, we can absolutely change the world. And it might not be right away. It might not be this election, might not be in the next, 10 elections. But if we keep it in our hearts that change is possible, it will absolutely happen. So yeah, that's my little side note. Okay, perfect. I do want to share one of my favorite poems from Duel. When I get into part two, I have poems that stand alone. They don't speak to each other. The pages don't speak to each other. Some of these poems are a couple pages long. And, well, I was going to share a different one, but actually I just stopped on this one. And it also kind of fits what I was talking about just now. So, this poem right here, why this poem is so special is because it's the first poem that I wrote. When I decided, all right, I have no one to talk to, I have no social media, I'm living in my car, I just have this pen and this paper, and I have things to say. I started writing stuff down. This was the first one. And this one is called Ode to Spiders. Bushes trimmed, life lost, where did the spiders go? Ever think about the privileges of life? You think you own your home. At any given time, it could be taken away. A fire, the government, the IRS, a flood, a war. What would you do if it crumbled before you? How upset would you be letting a higher power determine your fate? Imagine being a spider creating life in the bushes of the park. Imagine living every day in the same web. Now imagine a landscaper trimming away your home. He can't hear your screams. He can't feel your pain. He has a job to do. Physical reality is a privilege. You may be forced to adapt to changes. How will you respond? Where is your soul? Is it with your physical reality? Can you move beyond? Can you adapt? Would losing it all result in your loss of self? Who are you? What do you stand for? What keeps your spirit alive? What power determines fate? You, us, them, him, simultaneous moments combusting. Every action with reactions ripples in the web. What is the center of your universe? Family, job, creativity? Pick one, watch the web it weaves. From this perspective, can you understand the sacred trees? Life lies in the eyes of those living. Take a second look before you cast hooks. I think that one was a lot for me to kind of put into place of, even when we're mad or we're upset with what we're seeing on social media, when the news is giving us these things that are hurting our hearts very deeply, we have to remember that each one of us is simply doing the best that we can with what we've been given. And many people will eventually or now realize that, hey, I can do better. And some people, it's when they're in their 20s, and others are in their 60s, or maybe their 80s, or maybe 100 on their deathbed saying, oh man, it's time for me to say sorry to all my grandsons. So we've got to keep a light heart. We've got to keep a light heart when the news is giving us things that hurt, and we have to remember that even those people are just doing their jobs, and they can't completely hear all of our screams. So I love when you're speaking of sending the worries out as prayers, which I think is the best way to utilize language and the power that we have within language, is to take those worries and twist them into a prayer for love, personal peace, and for personal action, and doing things that make you happy whatever you possibly can. So I wanted to kind of do a little spin. Instead of reading for 20 minutes my own pieces, I have quite a few poetry books from my inspirations here in Las Vegas and a few other places in the world. And I wanted to share a poem or two out of theirs to kind of give you an idea of where I started, where I came from, and why I'm still writing, and the people that I just love oh, so dearly. So my friend Jordan, he used to go by the Changeling, and he has since changed that, or I guess had self-evolution. And I'm going to share one of his poems. And this poem here is called I Was a Victim. It's okay to cry. I say that to remind myself, but also as an invitation to cry with me. Because molestation isn't an easy thing to talk about. So perhaps I shouldn't say it's okay, but rather it's encouraged. After all, you still have to find a way to express yourself when there are no words. But now there are words. Pain, delayed until I could fully comprehend. Confusion, did I like it even though it was wrong? Guilt, not mine, but I still internalize it. Cousin, how could you do this to someone so close? Age, I was only 10, but you were only 12. Wonder, is it because it happened to you first? Blame, did you understand what you were doing? Forgiveness, what I have given you because I believe it was not your fault. Excuse, the word I should use instead of forgiveness. For my abuser's trauma does not justify me being abused. And now that I have the words, I will no longer be silent because thanks to those who shared their strength, I have it too. Because of a bow more fierce than Madonna, I am ready to shout until I am finally heard. And so I desperately need that strength because of you. I am a man who loves the mic, lives for spotlight. But when I talk about this, I am secretly wishing that everyone was busy instead of listening. Because I don't want to admit that you have broken me. However, it is important to admit that I am broken. Because some people still think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, now that I'm facing it, I can truly heal. And the first step to healing is making myself be heard. You see, I never said anything before because of you. How you convinced me to keep everything a secret, how you grew older and moved on with life, how you went through your temple as if you were clean, how you have a new growing family, how I didn't want to interrupt your life. Well, I'm sorry if it's an inconvenience for you, but it's been an inconvenient weight on me for 15 years. And I will no longer live in silence. Hello, my name is Jordan, and I can finally admit I was a victim. While it will never define me, it will always be a part of me. So for those of you in the same boat, raise your hand and say it with me. I was a victim. But I am breaking from the silence so I can start living. I am making it heard to show you no longer have power over me. Jordan, I loved so much because I was with him when he first came out with this, and when it was really, really profound for him to share these things. And he was the first person that I took photos of at an open mic. He was the first person that I connected with, and he was the first person that I felt comfortable sharing my own personal pain and poetry to before it was ever published in a book for anyone to have. And Jordan, with those words and that poem being so deep, and him saying that I now have the strength, he having that strength gave me the strength. And now I can be who I am. So I am so proud of him. A few years later, he wrote another book. This one, I actually haven't busted into at all. But you know what? I think this one oh man, I took this picture of him. It's in the back of the book. Oh, I didn't know that. So cute. I'm going to share this one with you. This poem is called See Me. When you see me, do you see sin? Do you see vile affections? Do you see an abomination? That's what it is when a man lies with another man, right? When you see me, do you see temptation? Do you see an apostate? That's what I am when I proclaim that I'm proudly queer, right? When you see me, do you see life? Do you see happiness? Do you see the twinkle in my eye? The one that only sparks when I am around people who I believe care about me. Because if you don't see that twinkle, it's probably because of how I see you. You see, I am sick of pretending, sick of being in the shadows, and I won't be pushed into another closet or a casket, like so many of my fellow queers. Just because you pick and choose with passages of the Bible to listen to, it does not mean you can pick and choose which parts of my life you want to be there for. You cannot disavow my lifestyle while still being a part of my life. You cannot refuse to attend my wedding while still being a part of my family. You can't say that you support me but ignore the things that make me. I do not need your prayers. I do not need your judgment. I do not need you to survive. Because the real sin is how you support institutions that hate me. The only abomination is how you compare me to the likes of murderers and pedophiles. The only vile affection is the way you pretend to love me for me. My life isn't a temptation. It is a celebration. So I will gladly apostatize from your group, which, whew, boy, he's getting me with these ones. I was going to skip that word. Yet misses the point of the story of Sodom. You truly see me. You have to stop looking past me. You have to stop looking at who you want me to be. You have to look at me and everything I am, everything I have become, and you have to ask yourself, when you see me, do you see love? Or just another issue to be tolerated? Do you see worthiness or just another contradiction to your faith? Do you see my soul or just wonder where it will go? Looking at me will not turn you into a pillar of salt, but looking past me will turn our relationship into dust. Failing to see me means failing to know me, failing to be a part of my life. And that is Jordan's. I wish there was a way to receive these, but he printed like limited editions. So I don't think you can get them anywhere. Sorry. But I think if you happen to message me later or any of that works out, I can send you his social links. I think he's got stuff online on a website. He's a part of a really amazing poetry group here in Las Vegas who is traveling and going to the slams that are happening still that aren't totally supposed to be happening. Okay, whatever. That's not my circus. Anyway, yeah, he's great. I love him. So happy to have been inspired by him. And one other person that really greatly inspired me that I do want to share real fast is Alexis Newman. Her book is called Songs of Sister Bird. And let's see what we get here. Oh boy, this is one I read before. Oh, yeah, it's funny that I turned this one because I actually wrote back to this poem in a poem in my book too. Cool. Well, it's good to reread this one. This one is called, well, actually doesn't have a title. Here we go. I'm not skinny, but my soul is. I'm no blonde, but it's a worthwhile exchange for what I've got in my heart. Can change what you think about brunettes with dark eyes and short lashes, thick hips and soft lips, sweet for the tasting, pale soles of the feet, walking far from blue eyes, wasting time, waiting to figure out if my figure is worth your gaze. Go figure, every woman truly is beautiful naked and raw like my intellect, as if you could have matched it. Yet when all I've done is try to convince you of what you should have seen and known without issue, and I may be curvilicious, but my mind is bodacious, we could scream this together like two birds of a feather, and whether that feather drifts softly together into sleep, into your thoughts and wet dreams, I'll creep and I'll be on your mind, but I really don't mind. If you want, I'll come see you as a sea of doubt I will swim through, but through me a life coat. Throw me a life coat that I can wrap around to keep me afloat as I row me a boat back to the land that these men walk about and work so hard to steal, who don't realize sexy isn't always blonde. But blonde can be sexy whenever it wants. It might be it's under the hair you see inside the skull of that beauty. There are thoughts worth sharing, more so than her limbs. And if you'd open your eyes, you'd see past all of this. This was fine. But we're here now, babe. I need to remind you of the progress we've made. So take all of my scars and my crazy too. I may not be blonde, but I can love like one, boo. Oh, Miss Alexis. She's absolutely one of my favorites, and I do believe that she wrote a second book that I have not received a copy to yet. So she's on Amazon. So is mine.